Hi, Harris and Dave here. We're here today to show you how to make Jewish apple cake. Well, in fact, Jewish apple cake is not really a Jewish apple cake, is it, Dave?
No, it's not at all. As a matter of fact, the Jewish apple cake, I understand, originated in Pennsylvania by the Amish. The correlation they figure really for the Jewish is the fact that you're not actually using any dairy product. It's supposed to actually be with margarine in the cake. But I know you've changed up the recipe. Or vegetable oil. Because that way you're not mixing your dairy with your meat products.
But of course, baking and butter and Harris, not going to work. So anyway, the first step in the process is you mix together, and you'll have all the ingredients on the website, but you'll mix together about 3 teaspoons of cinnamon to about 6 teaspoons of sugar. I'd say it's about a 50 to whatever's on the recipe. I can't remember.
Okay.
And so you start off by using the, we use, you can slice your apples yourself. We happen to use one of these apple peelers.
This is a lot easier than peeling and slicing the apples. If you've not seen one of these, I do recommend it. This is the one from actually Pampered Chef.
Right. We received
a great tool. I highly recommend you check that out. This will save you hours in the kitchen, either for your apple pies or for your Jewish apple cake.
So all you do is you put your apple in, and then you see how it peels the skin of the apple right off, and as it's doing that, it's pushing the core, right, slicing the core off as well. So that's okay, we'll get that in a minute.
Normally you would bolt this down better to your tabletop, however the edge of this table didn't have a big enough lip for us to do that, so as you can see it came out a little sloppy that way.
All right.
But watch this.
So then you have all of your apples, slices nice and evenly. Done. Okay?
And then what we do is we actually slice that down across the center.
So you put these all in your...
And you'll end up with your little half slices like this.
Yep. You put these are great also to use an apple core like this if you wanted to make tarts, because it makes a beautiful, lovely presentation.
Come on, keep up. I'm just sprinkling the sugar mixture over top, the sugar and cinnamon.
And what's really nice about this is what happens is the cinnamon and the that's on each of the apple slices, you'll see the layers of cinnamon and apple throughout the cake, which is really, really pretty when you're slicing the Jewish apple cake. All right, I'm going to finish peeling all these up, and we're going to do, I've already done 2
How many apples are you putting this?
I'm doing 5 apples today. You can use 4 to 5 or even 6, depending if they're small apples. These are good-sized apples, Granny Smith apples, so I'm going to use 5 of them today. All right?
Perfect.
Okay, now we're going to start the batter for the Jewish apple cake. So what it takes is 2 1/4 cups of sugar. It takes a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, which I've already put in. Now I got my 2 1/4 cups of sugar. And I'm putting in 1/4 cup, which is 4 tablespoons of butter. And I'm going to blend that until that's light and creamy. It should take about 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, so I put 2 1/4 cups of flour, all-purpose flour, in my stand-up mixer with 1/4 cup of vegetable oil and 1/4 cup of butter, which is 4 tablespoons of butter, softened, into the blender. I let that run for a few minutes. And now I'm going to add 4 eggs, one at a time, to the mixture. You wait for the egg to incorporate before you add this next egg in. And you do that one at a time until you have all 4 of them incorporated. Your mixture will look very loose, which don't forget, you know, you have a lot of flour to put in. So in this bowl, I put my 3 cups of flour in the bowl with 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I put 3 teaspoons of baking powder in with this. I whisk that together, and in a minute I'm going to start incorporating that into the mixture I have here. But before I do that, I want to add my vanilla. So I'm going to put in 1 vanilla bean, and I'm going to show you how you get the pulp out of the vanilla bean. You slice the bean in half, lengthwise. Okay? You separate it like this. I have to put on my glasses, see what I'm doing. Okay, and then you have to look very closely to see this, but if you look in between, can you see how that pulp is coming right out of there? See that pulp right there? That is delicious vanilla bean, fresh vanilla bean, delicious stuff. I love cooking, making my cookies, cakes. It's not always easy to find it in the grocery store these days for some reason, but when it's there, I like to get it. It's expensive, but it is worth the difference for the flavor. Don't forget, it's all about fresh ingredients. The better the ingredients you use, the better flavor you will have. Alright, so I have 1 pulp of a vanilla bean, and now I'm going to put another teaspoon of vanilla, pure vanilla extract into the mixture. Okay, now I'm going to blend that. And then on low speed, I'm going to incorporate the flour. Grab a spoon. You have to slowly incorporate the flour. I'm also alternate with some orange juice, which I forgot to get, so I'm going to grab it now. And I tell you, the orange juice I like to use is Simply. This is a really good product. If you haven't tried it, check it out. So my recipe calls for 1/3 of a cup of orange juice. So I'm going to add a little bit of orange juice, and then some more of the dry ingredients. Now, you don't want to overmix your dough. The more you overmix batter, the tougher it gets. So basically you want to incorporate your ingredients, but you want to make sure you incorporate them well. So I'm going to turn it off, make sure I have all this dough mixed together well. I'm going to scrape down the sides. Okay, I'm going to lock it back down. Give it another. I think the batter is slightly thick, so I'm going to add a drop more orange juice. And your consistency should be just about like this. Okay, so now we have, I've greased a bundt pan. But you can use a springform pan. It's whatever your preference is. I prefer the bundt pan. I think it has a better overall finished product appearance. I'm preheating my oven to 350 degrees. And now I'm going to start putting layers of the dough, the batter. And but I want to do a thin layer of the batter. It's very thick and it's very sweet. Don't forget there's 2 1/4 cups of sugar in this batter here. So I want to spread that around pretty thin. See, it's not that much in there, really. So then I'm going to start laying in my apples. And what's nice is some of the apples will poke through to the top, and you'll see them. And every layer of this, you're going to see the cinnamon, because they're all coated. Every single apple is coated with cinnamon and sugar. So that'll look nice. This cake, this is such a popular treat the morning after Thanksgiving. We always put it out on the dessert table for Thanksgiving, but the morning following, it's a real treat, because a lot of people like to have fruit-type Danish for breakfast in the morning. Alright, so you see now, I've got my second layer in of this batter, and so now you just continue repeating this until you fill up the entire pan. You need to make sure you leave some room for it to to rise as well. So you see, simple as can be. Just putting the apples in. There we go. Now another layer of the batter. That's the oven telling me it's 350, ready to go. Alright, so I've got the batter in. The next layer, I'm doing another layer of apples. The more layers you can get in, the better, because it'll have more of a ribbon kind of appearance of the apples and the cinnamon that we talked about. So the more of them you can get in here, the better looking your Jewish apple cake is going to look. I see Dave wasn't so perfect with all his sprinkling on here. Alright, so we're doing another layer of the batter. We want to stretch that out, thin it out. See, you can almost even see some of the apples right through it. Okay. There we go. Almost finished. Okay, we have one last layer to do, and then it's ready to go in the oven. As my grandmother said, good to the last drop. You never met my grandmother, Dave, but you would have really liked her. Dave is actually filming this for us today. We seem to have to take turns filming these, these videos. Hey, who knows? Maybe this thing will take off and we'll be able to hire a real photographer. Okay, I'm going to top it off with one last topping of the apples, and it is ready to go in the oven. Jewish apple cake, made from scratch, fresh ingredients. There we go. Put it right into the oven. Now this cake takes about 1.5 to 2 hours to cook. Because of all the fruit in the batter, the fruit slows down the cooking process, and it really takes quite a long time. So don't be impatient, and keep an eye on. We'll keep an eye on it, and we'll do a toothpick taste test in about 1.5 hours. Thanks.